You know, it really is one of the more impressive pieces of fake news that we've seen and heard in a long, long time. President Donald Trump pried 1,500 migrant immigrant children from their parents at the border. Separated them. Kids over here, parents over there, never to see each other again. Turns out it was all a big lie. Parents and children were not separated at the border. Children were placed with sponsors. Sponsors never got back to the government. There are 1,400 to 1,500 migrant children in America right now. We don't know where they are. And it's not because they were separated from their parents. It's because their sponsors never got back to our government. It's a big lie. It's a dangerous lie. But even this issue of, right, the media playing with this issue of we're separating minors from their parents at the border. Minors trying to come into this country illegally, with or without their parents trying to come into this country illegally as well. And the question that everybody on the left wants answered is, why, oh why, how in God's name could we separate these poor children from their parents? That question, as inaccurate and false as it is, that question overlooks the bigger, broader question that's been eating at me for the last week. Why are we letting them in anyways? Why are we letting minors into this country illegally? Why are we letting unaccompanied minors into this country illegally? Period. Why are we letting them in? To discuss this issue, the whole immigration mess right now, very happy again to be joined by Robin Brio. He's a Democrat strategist, a Georgia Democrat activist. Robin, thank you as always for joining me. This issue of Trump separating kids from their parents at the borders, I think it's a big lie, but I also think it's an issue where the Democrats, again, are on the wrong side of another immigration issue. What's your take?
My take is, I'm always just brutally honest. My take is that they're not telling the full story. Just in your intro to the story you just did, so I commend you for that. The issue is that these children were placed with sponsors who are not communicating with the government. So we don't know where they are because the sponsors, and a lot, as you also pointed out, which I appreciated, that these were many of these were unaccompanied minors. So it's not that they were separated from their families; they were sent over without their families. I understand if you're not told the full story, how it can definitely sound like reprehensible that we're separating children from their families. Of course, that sounds awful. The last time that we did that was when we had slaves up on the auction block. So it sounds horrible, but the full story is not being told. And it's just now coming to light bit by bit. So, I'm concerned that you are.
Robin, what I find interesting is, I think this whole issue of immigration and people coming into this country illegally, I think it's a winning issue for Republicans. Why, oh, why do the Democrats seem to keep trying to claw at it? I mean, they clearly stretched on this 1,500 kids separated from their parents issue, but Democrats seem to want to go down this immigration road, and I don't think it helps them.
Because they're playing on emotions, and I'm just calling it as I see it. And it is actually 1,475 children at last count. But, I'm not going to mince words. My party plays on emotions. We've been known to. And it's an emotional issue, but the whole story needs to be told. And I appreciate you telling the truth, and I'm affirming that truth. Yes, it is a campaign issue. Yes, the parties are divided on this issue. And as a Georgia Democrat, I see more along the lines of what you're saying is, this is a broader issue. And as a veteran, of course, I see this as a physical security issue. So, there's differences.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Robin, what I was going to say was along those same lines. I don't know if you've seen the Republicans put out an ad a couple days ago going after using Nancy Pelosi's own words as Ms. Pelosi tries to attack the president for calling MS-13 gang members animals. That right there, Robin, seems to be a real clear issue where the Democrats ought to just kind of keep quiet about this whole animal thing.
Please, for the love of God, I wish they would. And Nancy Pelosi's name is just political anathema. Let's face it. She's not, any Republican that runs in these special elections, the Democrat running against them is always pegged as a Pelosi Democrat. And it works very effectively. It worked very effectively here in Georgia in the 6th Congressional District. She's masterful when it comes to, lawmaking and trying to bridge the divide. I commend her for when the Republicans couldn't get their act together and no favors. And God forbid anyone label me a Pelosi Democrat.
Hey, Robin, are you in the minority as we sit here about to enter June of 2018? When it comes to your thinking on the Democrat Party as a Democrat, is your view the minority view?
Yes, Joe. As I've said before, the party, let's face it, both parties right now are shifting further in each direction. The Democratic Party, they've still got a chip on their shoulder about Bernie Sanders and what the DNC did, which I have called out numerous times. I don't agree with how that was handled. But now the party is moving much further left. I don't like that at all. And the DNC has been trying to run conservative Democrats in red states, but they've not really been winning unless they're veterans. I'll caveat that with that statement. But by and large, the conservative Democrats haven't been winning. It's the ones that are much further left. And on the Republican side, we've seen, the far right winning. So there's a greater schism right now. And I'm not at all happy about that. I wish that the parties could, in some way, I think Americans want us to try and work together to try and get things done. Because if we're just fighting each other in Congress, as you know, as a former congressman, nothing happens. Nothing gets done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will say this, though, Robin. Your party has done a decent job of nominating a number of veterans and a very large number of women. Robin, thanks. Always love having you. Robin, thanks for joining me. Coming up, a really good day today for Donald Trump and for the Republican Party, and I'll bet you have not heard a thing about it.